Please join me in welcoming Carolyn Kepscher. Carolyn, on behalf of Toastmasters International, it's my honor to present to you the 2010 Golden Gavel Award.
So many of you probably know me as Donald's right-hand woman, boardroom judge, advisor, henchwoman, hatchet lady, ice queen. I have worked for Donald for almost 12 years, which means I was about 15 when I started. It's my night. Just go with it. I worked for Donald for almost 12 years as an executive vice president and chief operating officer for Trump Golf Properties. And I can't tell you how many people have asked me, how did you get the job with Donald? And how did you get the job on The Apprentice? And the first one, I have to tell you, was a little bit more difficult. One of the properties that I was working at in Westchester County, it was a golf property, and we were getting it ready for resale and also operation. We were told that Donald was interested in purchasing this property, that he wanted to have a meeting in his office in about a week and a half. And I had met my team in the lobby of Trump Tower, and we proceeded up to the 26th floor. And we sat in the lobby. It was myself and 8 other gentlemen. And the gentlemen that I was with were gentlemen. So they parted the way for the woman to go in first. And I remember saying to myself, a 24-year-old, oh my God, I'm going in first. And then when I approached his office, I said, I'm going in first. And I made a beeline to that front seat right in front of his desk. And eventually, we sold the property to Donald. He purchased it. He asked me to stay on. And the rest, I suppose you can say, is history. Thank you. And it was about 8 years later, and one day Donald came into that same property, well, now it was my office, and he sat in front of my desk and said, Carolyn, you know this guy, Mark Burnett, the Survivor guy? I've heard of him. Well, he wants me to do a reality show with him. And I said, well, you know, Donald, you've got a lot of things going right now. You have the Trump water, Trump sunglasses, Trump patio furniture, Trump clothing line, Trump vodka, a Trump reality show. Really? And 3 months later, he called me in my office and he said, Carolyn, remember I was talking to you about Mark Burnett, the Survivor guy? Yeah. Well, I'm going to do that reality show. And I said, thank you for taking my advice. And he said, I have better news. You're going to do that reality show too. And then I met the contestants. And I said, I think my initial reaction to this show was dead on. But I will tell you, after a few weeks, it did get harder. Because I found that the contestants were, in fact, very smart. And then the show aired. And my life turned absolutely upside down. I was getting recognized on the street. I was being asked for my autograph. But here's the most important part. I was getting calls, emails, handwritten letters. It was women telling me their workplace stories. And they were looking for an answer. And I remember saying to myself, wow, this is overwhelming. And it was about that time that I was asked to write a book, which I did. And before I knew it, I found myself, just like this, speaking in front of numerous women's organizations, companies, groups, and I actually found myself one day opening for Hillary Clinton. And I remember introducing Hillary. We're friends now, we call her Hillary. And, you know, the fanfare and the music, and she got up and she had thanked me for introducing her, but then she had publicly thanked me for being a role model to women. And I remember saying to myself, my God, you know, what's happening here? I never claimed to be an expert. I was basically just speaking from the heart. And after a few years of doing this on The Apprentice and working for Donald, I began to think about my own future. And I'm very privileged that I have a very impressive Rolodex, and it's filled with people who are experts in their field. And whenever I need help, I reach out to them, and they're always willing to help. And that's when it dawned on me. Wouldn't it be great if every woman had the access to a Rolodex like I did? And therefore, I created a universal Rolodex where women could go on every day and get that support and those answers that they need every day. And my Rolodex is called workherway.com. I sought after a team of experts to help me with my vision. A team of experts and advice givers whose philosophies were very much in line with mine. And right now I have 150 of them, and they're growing very fast. Work Her Way is dedicated to helping women survive and thrive in their careers. And I can tell you the number one issue that's being talked about the most on the site is transition. With the shakeups and the layoffs and the restructuring of recent past, there has been a huge catalyst for change. Those who are left standing, those who still have a job, are handling increased workloads, greater responsibility, and a higher stress level than ever before. I've spoken with many people who've truly had great ideas for businesses, and they've walked around for years with this phenomenal business sense, this phenomenal business idea in their head, but yet they never did anything about it. And why? Because fear held them back. Well, guess what? Those regular jobs, they're not so secure anymore, are they? And those men and those women are taking their ideas and they're creating businesses. Layoffs are an absolute nightmare, and so are financial issues. But change, without a doubt, is our biggest fear. I don't believe in work-life balance. If we look at balance, we think of a scale. So if we have work on this hand and we have life on this hand, every time that something comes up in the office and we have a problem, the workload goes down, and what? All of a sudden, our life and our family has to suffer. And that's not what it's about. It's where we do our best to blend our work and our lives with the understanding that sometimes they will collide. So what do we call that? We call that integration. I began to change my mind about work-life integration a few years ago when my executive editor was having her second child. And she approached me and she said, "Carolyn, I'd like to work a few weeks from home." What does that mean? I couldn't even understand. But she's a valued employee, and I definitely wanted to keep her on my staff long term. And I gave it a shot. And it was probably the best decision I've ever made. And to this day, I will say that 100% of my work staff work remotely. Kids don't know the importance of the BlackBerry, especially young ones. So when you're walking up and down, and you have your BlackBerry, and your kids are pulling at your strings, and you're going like this, they don't know what that BlackBerry is. All they know is that little thing in your hand is more important than them. So when I get to dinner at night, I turn that BlackBerry off and I have conversation with my children. Reach out to somebody you know or don't know and lend them a hand. I am a big proponent of mentorship. It's a passion of mine, and I hope it's a passion of yours. And together, we can survive and thrive, regardless of the unexpected days ahead. Thank you very much for having me this evening. Okay, where's the towels? We want the towels.